Hey, I'm Dr. Munshi. In this video, I'll talk about antibiotics in dentistry. Antibiotics is an integral part of dentistry, but that doesn't mean you have to use antibiotics in every situation. We have to use antibiotics precisely where indicated. So, stay with me, it will help you a lot. So, in this video, I'll discuss about where we have to use antibiotic, where not to use. So, this video is particularly important for freshers and those who are started their practice, because antibiotics, if you use randomly, it will cause the cost burden to the patient. It will cause various side effects and also bacterial resistance. This bacterial resistance is nowadays a great concern, but of course there are many indications where you have to use antibiotics. I will all discuss everything. So first I have noted down some introductions. The oral cavity is a complex biological ecosystem with very large numbers of organisms living in a biofilm. The interaction of the organisms are complex, and the change from health to disease state is associated with the change in the balance of the ecosystem, usually from the resident facultative anaerobes to obligate anaerobes for most pulpal and periodontal pain. Now, most dental pain is a result of infection, and that infection induced inflammatory process in a closed chamber. If you think about pulpal infection or pulpal inflammation, this is a closed space. Periodontal infection, that is closed space. So, and there are innervation is there. So due to the closed space and richly innervated soft tissue like periodontal space, periosteum space, gingiva, periodontium, that all causing the intense pain. So the thing is that, does antibiotic will remove the cause of infection? No, antibiotic will not affect that much in periodontium, in pulpal pain. So what we have to do? We have to remove the infection foci. How? If there is pulpal pain and it is irreversible pulpitis, you have to open the access. That will release the gaseous form that is present inside pulp. That will inflammatory exudate will come out, and the pain will go. And along with that, along with the mechanical removal of the foci, in case of also periodontal disease, if there is pain, you can do root planing, you can do scaling. Along with that, you can prescribe analgesic. So here antibiotic will not affect that much. Many studies also supporting this thing that in pulpal pain, unless until there is space infection and other generalized thing is there, you have to stick to this principle that you have to remove the infection foci, and along with that you have to prescribe the analgesics. So these things is very much important. Now I'll discuss about the principles of antibiotic usage. So here is important interesting thing that Joseph and Rodvolt summarized the 4D of antimicrobial therapy. 4D. First is right drug, second is right dose, third is de-escalation to pathogen directed therapy, last is right duration of therapy. So you have to choose the right drug for the if you decide that you have to prescribe antibiotic, then what drug, what antibiotic. Second, what should be the dose. Dose also is not fixed. For moderate infection, for severe infection, for mild infection, there are difference of dose. Second, de-escalation to pathogen induced therapy, that is something different. De-escalation of pathogen directed therapy means, first you can prescribe broad spectrum antibiotic, then after bacterial culture or sensitivity test, bacterial sensitivity test, you can prescribe the more narrow spectrum antibiotics. But now in India, I think very few dentists or doctors they do bacterial sensitivity, because it is costly procedure. So we have to focus on the identification of the pathogens from clinical pictures only. Now fourth is right duration of therapy. How much days you have to use? Is it prolonged therapy? Is it short therapy? how, what are the time. So duration is also important. So right drug, right dose, de-escalation, and right duration of therapy. Next, the consideration of antimicrobial therapy, where we will use antibiotic. Now indications: if patient having pyrexia, fever is there within last 24 hours, that indicates a systemic response to the infection. Here you have to prescribe antibiotic. If systemic symptoms like malaise, fatigue, weakness, dizziness, rapid respiration, and local tender lymphadenopathy, that indicates an impending sepsis. So here you have to prescribe antibiotic. Now next, trismus. If patient is having trismus, and of course most common reason for trismus is pericoronitis. And if there is simple pericoronitis and there is no trismus, patient is able to open his or her mouth and you see the pericorneal infections, you don't have to prescribe antibiotic. But if there is infection, then you don't have access to that area to irrigate, or if you give patient chlorhexidine mouthwash, patient will not do properly because mouth is closed, trismus is there. So for trismus, that indicates spread of perimandibular spaces and can extend to secondary spaces, that can be potentially dangerous. Also trismus makes intraoral procedures difficult, which must wait until the trismus is relieved. So in case of trismus along with pericoronitis or other infections, you have to prescribe antibiotic. Next, as a prophylaxis in patients with systemic conditions like rheumatic heart disease, endocarditis, heart or orthopedic prosthesis. So in this kind of thing, if patient is already suffering from rheumatic heart disease, endocarditis, heart or orthopedic prosthesis is there, any joint replacement, heart valve replacement, then you have to give prophylactically antibiotics before the surgical procedure. In patients with any kind of immunocompromised state like HIV, AIDS, cancer, autoimmune disease, corticosteroid therapy, patients with immune compromised disease like cyclic neutropenia, pancytopenia, uncontrolled diabetes, to name a few common ones. So uncontrolled diabetes, immunosuppressive diseases, cancers, corticosteroid therapy, these things is indication for antibiotic prescription. Next, after solid organ transplant, graft, that cardiac transplant, renal transplant, bone marrow transplant, liver, osseous implant. So in these cases, you have to prescribe antibiotics. The patient is suffering from dental pain. So because the immunosuppressive drugs is a patient must be taking if there is organ transplantation, and also the infection, if goes to their transplanted organ, it will infected and get rejected. So in these cases, you have to use antibiotics. Now where we usually use antibiotics but not an indication, what are those clinical conditions? Like pain, patient is suffering from pain, there is no other symptoms that what I just discussed. There is no pyrexia, no localized lymphadenopathy, there is no facial infection, facial plane infections, no dizziness, weakness, or any generalized symptoms, or there is no history of diabetes mellitus, any immunocompromised state or transplantation, but patient is suffering from pain only. So do not give antibiotic. They first diagnose the pain, treat it surgically. That means if you need to open the access cavity. If you need drainage and incision and drainage, if there is localized abscess, do that. Do not prescribe antibiotic for pain. Next is edema. If there is localized edema is there, that means pus formation is there. If it is a cellulitis, then you have to prescribe antibiotics. But if it is abscess, and just drain it through by opening access or by incision and drainage. So this is the not indication for antibiotic therapy. Next is redness and heat. If there is any inflammatory sign is there, if the area is red inside your oral cavity, that in anti-inflammatory drug you can prescribe, not antibiotic. Next, purulence, resolved by drainage of pus or debridement. Next, abscess. If it is localized, alveolar abscess, periodontal abscess, it will resolve by incision and drainage. Next, draining sinus tract. Often we prescribe antibiotics if there is any sinus tract. No, there will be no better result with antibiotic. Just removal of the foci of infection resolves the drainage and sinus tract, may heal on its own or may have to be surgically excised. So you have to do some treatment here, not antibiotic. So these things is non-indicated clinical conditions for antimicrobial therapy. Now I will discuss about what are the antibiotics best in dentistry. Commonly we use amoxicillin, that is for gram-positive and gram-negative organisms. Amoxicillin is a bactericidal drug. It has better oral tolerance, less chances of toxicity. Most odontogenic infections still respond to this drug, so amoxicillin is a good choice of antibiotics. Now second is amoxicillin plus clavulanate. So it is for a similar action of amoxicillin, additional beta-lactamase resistance effect. If amoxicillin is not effectively functioning in a case, that you can consider that the bacteria is beta-lactamase resistance is there. So you can prescribe amoxicillin and clavulanate combination. Next, cephalosporins. There is cephalexin, cephalozolin. Many cephalosporins are there. They are also useful. Then metronidazole. If the infection is little old, like 2 to 3 days old, and the indication is there for prescribing antibiotic, then you can combine metronidazole with amoxicillin, because metronidazole is active against obligate anaerobes. So in case of abscess formation is there and infection is spreading and patient is having generalized symptoms, in this case you can consider metronidazole. So remember, metronidazole is not a drug where you can give it just patient is in your clinic and having pain and infection is there for 1 day or 2 day. Do not prescribe metronidazole, no need of this. But if there is abscess and that related infection is there and sinus symptoms there, you can consider metronidazole. Or the infection is old, 3 to 4 days old or 2 to 3 days old. Now tetracycline is also good drug. It has a high concentration achieved in bone and gingival tissue, so you can consider in case of gingivitis, periodontitis. Clindamycin is also very useful drug. It has a wide spectrum of activity including anaerobes. So if patient is suffering from penicillin allergy patient, if there is a patient with penicillin allergy, you can consider clindamycin. But clindamycin is not a first line of drug. Always amoxicillin, amoxiclav, you can prescribe first line of drug. Clindamycin you can reserve this drug. Next, aminoglycosides like amikacin, vancomycin. These are also these are mainly injectable drugs. They are active against gram-negative odontogenic infections, used in combination with other drugs in severe odontogenic infections. But there are some side effects is there for amikacin, vancomycin. Their ototoxicity and hepatotoxicity is there. So these drugs, aminoglycosides, amikacin, vancomycins, these drugs is reserved. If there is severe infection, then you can add with the other drug. So these are reserved drug, you can say. Then macrolides, clarithromycin, azithromycin, they are also useful but not the first line of drug. If patient is having penicillin allergy, then you can consider this azithromycin. Next, fluoroquinolones. Yeah, this is also a good drug. Moxifloxacin has been found to be effective against most odontogenic microorganisms, useful in minor infections in penicillin allergic patients, but better alternatives are available and hence not recommended for routine use. So though moxifloxacin is very good for most odontogenic microorganisms, but this is very costly and there are better alternative also in low cost like amoxicillin. So why we need these fluoroquinolones other drugs when we have the amoxicillins and metronidazole? These are the standard drugs. Then you can consider clindamycin, amikacin, vancomycin, afloxacin, ciprofloxacin, moxifloxacin, these kind of drugs, or cephalosporin group of drugs. So these are a little bit about the drugs which we prescribe day to day. And if there is severe infections, we have to think about IV or IM injections. Next, some specific conditions I will discuss where we need antibiotic, where we don't need antibiotic. In endo, in case of uncomplicated endodontic lesion, uncomplicated endodontic lesion, we do not need antibiotic, just debridement of root canal. Second, soft tissue swelling of endodontic origin like apical abscess or alveolar abscess, no need of antibiotic, just root canal treatment, incision and drainage. Next, endodontic lesion confined to the bone, apical periodontitis, no need of antibiotic. Trephination of bone to relieve pressure and speed healing. Next, periodontal abscess, no need. Scaling and removal of irrigant, drainage of pus. Chronic periodontitis, what you will do with antibiotic in chronic periodontitis? It is the education and motivation part. You have to motivate the patient to brush well, maintain oral hygiene, and if you will do scaling, root planing, that will control the chronic periodontitis situation. No antibiotic will effective here. So scaling and root planing will be our first line of treatment. Of course, if all these things that I discussing, if you are not finding any result with your mechanical therapy, then you can switch to antibiotic also with mechanical to assist it. But antibiotic therapy is not the essential or not the first line of treatment. In these conditions, what just now I am discussing, this mechanotherapy is the first line of treatment. Now, necrotizing ulcerative gingivitis with systemic complications in healthy patients. In healthy patients, no need of antibiotic. Debridement, irrigation, scaling and root planing. Next, necrotizing ulcerative gingivitis with systemic complications or in immunocompromised patients. The first one that I discussed, NUG without systemic complications in healthy patients, no need of antibiotic. But if there is systemic complication is there, or in immune compromised patients, patient is having HIV associated NUG or NUP, necrotizing ulcerative periodontitis, yes, in this case, when patient is suffering from immunocompromised state and patient is having systemic complications, then with debridement, with irrigation, with scaling and root planing, you have to use systemic antibiotics. Here, metronidazole is the first choice for antibiotic selection. Penicillin group of drugs may be additional adjuvants. So, necrotizing ulcerative gingivitis or periodontitis with systemic complications and or HIV associated disease, then you need antibiotics, metronidazole and amoxicillin group. Next, aggressive periodontitis or refractory periodontal disease. That means when your conventional therapy is not responding, is not working well, then or aggressive periodontal disease, yeah, may be considered antibiotic with debridement and root planing and scaling. Localized abscess is there, no need of antibiotic, incision and drainage. Facial space infection, indication of antibiotic treatment. Next, complicated endodontic or periodontic lesion with signs and symptoms of spread of infection or involvement of facial plane, then yes, antibiotic is necessary. Next, systemically compromised patients with immune defects that I told earlier, yeah, bactericidal drug is recommended. In case of immunocompromised patients, always prescribe bactericidal drug like amoxicillin, etc. Metronidazole also is bactericidal. So, next, prior to uncomplicated or complicated extraction, no need of antibiotic. Unless until patient is suffering from diabetes mellitus, immunocompromised state, or prosthetic heart valve replacement, prosthetic joint replacement, HIV, AIDS, etc. Otherwise, healthy patients before extraction, no need of infections. If there is infection, localized infection is there, no need of prescribing antibiotic. I am doing this treatment, following this protocol, and it is responding well. Patients responding well with only the mechanotherapy. Where it is indicated antibiotic therapy, you have to give it, otherwise not. Next, prior to periodontal surgery and endodontic surgery, no need. Prior to regenerative periodontal therapy with membrane, GTR or grafting, yes, antibiotic is needed. Maybe you can consider. Now, prior to implant surgery, not necessary in case of single implant placement. For multiple you can use, but in case of single implant, no need of antibiotics prior to implant surgery. So, These things are very much essential to understand. Now, in case of sign and symptoms of systemic spread, I am repeating again and again. In case of pyrexia, malaise, worsening of general conditions, you have to consider antibiotics. Rapid onset of progress of infection, antibiotics. Infection in immunocompromised patients, I have said again and again, yeah, important. Large swelling, where the airway is obstructing or involving submandibular submental space, and that is or parapharyngeal space, and that is causing respiratory obstruction, or you can imagine that this is the potential airway compromised state. So you have to give antibiotic along with the other treatment. Presence of trismus, that I said that it is a serious sign, you have to give the antibiotics. So I will share some of my experience in last few minutes. Nowadays I am following this principle. I am using minimum antibiotics only when necessary. I am using the sterilized instruments, autoclave instruments properly, and before extraction I am not giving antibiotics to patient. Only immunocompromised patients with uncontrolled diabetes mellitus or patient is having any prosthetic replacements, that is the only indications I am using antibiotics prior to extraction or other surgeries. And after extraction, in case of same thing, if indicated like facial infection is there already, or pyrexia, or systemic complications is there, diabetes mellitus, etc., then only I am considering antibiotic. Otherwise, after extraction, I am not giving antibiotics at all. I am using autoclaved instruments. So these are something you can follow, and you can reduce the burden of antibiotics, reduce the cost burden, also reduce the side effects of antibiotics, and also the bacterial resistance. Thank you very much for patiently listening. Hope you learned something from this session. Thank you very much.